Right, so today's task is very much the steering rack. It needs to be located here and be in line with these pickup points for the wishbones. It's that simple, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it. I also want to try and make the depth adjustable because I'm going to try and make the caster adjustable at the top as well as at the bottom. It does need to be 65mm back, or the center line of the steering rack needs to be 65mm back from the center line of the pickups for the wishbones in this plane here. So I do need to make it depth adjustable by about an inch or so. So whether I mount it here or mount it to this face, I'm not sure, but I'm going to sort of put it in place and have a think about it. You can see the steering rack there approximately in situ, and here are the options I've got for mounting it. This you can see attached here, and here is the mini rack mounting kit. This is a mini rack. It has one here for locating the rack, and also got some grooves so it doesn't move from side to side, and then I'm presuming the other one just goes there and clamps it in place. That does quite handily fit between an inch tube, so I could just mount a tube here and add some tags for mounting the rack. And you know, there's also some level of adjustability with this here as well. The other option I've got is to reuse parts of the original rack. The original rack is very similar to a mini rack. I think it is a modified mini rack. It's been extended, but it has these mounting points here. If I just turn it around just so you can get a better look at it. Basically, this was connecting to the original 2x2s on the car at the front of the chassis. Just move that so but I could, you know, chop this up and use it, because this will go, I think, around this part of the rack body. So I could unbolt this, chop this bit off, and actually, because these bolts go all the way through, I could use that to mount the rack as well, and try and make it so it gives me some level of adjustability. But I don't know, I think maybe just having the mini rack mounting points may be a lot simpler and easier. I just need to make some spaces so that when I add these in, it's got something to firmly grip against so it can be spaced out correctly. Maybe that is a case of actually using these bits here. I'll have a think about it. I need to take this apart and then have a good look at it and see what we can reuse or not, as the case may be. So what I've decided to do is actually not use the mini rack mountings, because if I use the mini rack mountings, I have to go in that way, and that would mean I would need to add an extra member here. If I use the original mountings, there's two halves here, I can actually just mount it to this member here, so it's going to make things a bit simpler. The only problem with this is those are two halves and these are the other two halves, so I'm going to have to modify these components. There's going to be quite a lot of cutting and whatever, but the critical machine parts are these faces and internally here, so I'm not going to be touching that. So let's get on with modifying these pieces. Okay, so I finished this this bracket. Obviously I've had to make the outer piece from one of the other components, so it's not a machine finished, as you can see, but it's okay. So that's how the steering rack is going to be clamped. Put it together like that, and then I've created these plates. I've got two of them, one for each side. It's going to be welded this side, and this is basically going to bolt onto those plates like that. So I need to set this up so the rack's in the right place, and then I can weld these plates on. I've just ground back this nut for this for the rack and pinion mechanism on the steering rack, and I've also replaced the washer, the spring washer, with a thinner one. The reason why I've done that is I'm really close to the upper member, So I just wanted to get a couple more mil clearance so I can get the rack a bit further back. Not ideal, but the rack, well, with the rack being in the position it is and the member being there, even if this does back out, it won't be able to back out all the way anyway, so it's okay. Not ideal, but it's okay. Okay, so I need some spacers for this steering rack. Ideally I need 15 mil. I could space out the washers, but it'd be nice to have a nice plate to actually back this up with. Obviously I don't want to do it with steel because it'd be hard and expensive to make, but I do have these bits which, although they're beautifully made, they're pretty much useless now. But I've got 10 mil, I've got 20 mil, and I've got 18 mil chunks, so I'm going to make some spacers out of these 18 mil chunks here and just fit them nicely behind there. Well, there it is. There's the steering rack in position. Now all I need to do is weld in this steel and add some extra support for it so it doesn't fold over when there's a strain put on it. Yeah, that's it, that's in. And then tomorrow, I think once I've welded this in tonight, hopefully, tomorrow I can sort of temporarily build the front end, maybe do the things I need to do to the lower wishbone to make sure that the fittings fit right, and then we can sight the steering column. Well, it's starting to get quite late, but you can see that we're starting to get to the end of adding this steering rack in, and I've done the supports at the top, you can see up there, but I need to do some underneath down here. Look, ideally I want to do that with the car on its side, so I'm going to do that tomorrow because we're getting late now.